and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Daffy. And today we are previewing our Round 9 clash, Carlton v Melbourne at the MCG, Thursday, 9th of May, 7:30 p.m. And as just said at the MCG, we move very swiftly on in the AFL world. Of course, last week, our review against the Pies, obviously very flattening performance that game, but I think we've had a few days to recover. And of course, we're now moving on to the Deezy sweep. But first things first, Daffy boy, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Quick turnaround. Obviously, Friday night. Wasn't even that long ago, and now we're already thinking about the D's, which is in 3 days' time. So, another big test. I feel like we're having tests every bloody second week or every week. So, yeah, we can't be playing the way we did on the weekend because they'll punish us as well. So they just came off a massive scalp in my opinion with the Cats. So, yeah, massive challenge for us, but with these ins that we'll touch on in this video, I think we can really put up a good fight. And we seem to put up a good fight whenever we play them. So we'll see how we go.
So very quickly, I'll ask you a question about how you think we'll kind of go this week. So would you think with us coming off a loss and the D's coming off a big win against the team who has been undefeated the whole year, do you think that will help us in terms? Well, of course, it will help us, but how do you see it from a Melbourne point of view with them coming off a win where now they're classified as they could be a top four side?
Yeah.
Do you think that might potentially that's something that might concern them come this week, that they might be a little bit too over their heads?
Yeah, I feel like the way they've been playing early in the year, they've been getting their wins, but they've kind of been building in a way. When the team kind of builds a little bit, and I know they have. The Richmond we'll touch on before we recorded their Richmond wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but I feel like in that game they were doing the right things, but it was just those little bit of missing a few targets and like fumbly and I think they were trying to play a way that was going to win the game, and they won the game obviously, Richmond, but that led to them playing the same way against Geelong, and they were much cleaner. And they ended up winning the game. But on your question, yeah, I don't think they'll be over their heads. I don't think they'll be up themselves because I know we match up extremely well against them. Most years actually, there's always a decent battle against them. Obviously, it probably stems back to 2022, the back end of that game where Cosy Pickett kicked the goal, and then obviously the last two games against them, the round 17 or no round 20 or whatever it was, when we won that was a mental roller coaster, that game. But and then obviously the semi final, which was the last time we played them, and I must say that I think their supporters and them as a whole, they'll be thinking let's try and get them back because. Like we always look at it at our end and go, what a night, but there's always a loser.
Yeah.
And, they would have walked away from that game and never want to watch Blake Acres kick a goal again. You know what I mean? So it's like Jamie Elliott in our heads, it's always in the back of your head and lurking in the back of your head. So, obviously there'll be a bit of talk about the whole semi-final and all that stuff in the build-up, but I think for us is to focus on what we need to improve on from the week before and our, lack of, I don't know, is connectivity from defence to forward. I think that's been our issue.
You're exactly right. Like, I think you look at it where we've been through so many of those moments as a Carlton supporter where there's been certain players that have affected our mental health heading into a buddy team. We'll be like, oh no, that player is playing this week. But I think you're exactly right about the Melbourne sort of mindset about them having some sort of redemption, because the past few times, I mean, we've beaten them the past two times we played, but of course, they got a win last year, earlier on in the year. But you say there, we have matched up well against them when we haven't been overly great. I remember one game in 2019, I think it was, when we lost 5 points. It was so close, but then you remember the year before where we lost by 109 points. So
yes.
yeah, let's try and not go back to those moments, definitely. So now we're going to move on to the injury list. Now there are two crucial wins this week. Of course, we brought in Adam Chera last week for our clash against the Pies, but this week there's two potential inclusions. There's one that's pretty much 99.9% lock. You can't say 100% just yet, but it's pretty much 99.9% lock, and that's Mitch McGovern. He's expected to return this week. You wouldn't expect him to play VFL. I think you would slide him straight into the senior side. And who knows, potentially in our ins and outs, we'll speak on a guy that might come straight out for Mitch McGovern that comes straight in. And another player who's been on a training block for a few weeks now, Daft Boy.
Yeah.
And you've been and we actually mentioned well, I mean, like you were mentioning how he was actually quite fit
Yeah.
because of the training block, and it's Jack Martin, who also is a chance to play. So I've put there a chance to play because
Yeah.
the past few weeks, Vossi is very he's obviously put him on a program where you kind of you manage him in a way where we are up to the last week where it could go 50-50. Because right now, heading into this week, it's pretty much 1 week away. Because last week's injury list was 1 to 2 weeks. Heading into this week, it's pretty much either a test or 1 week. So I don't know if they'll go the side of it's D's this week. He's been on a training block for 6 weeks. Play him, or if you just kind of manage him for 1 more week, maybe even you bring him in as a sub. And that's some sort of a management where he could play 100%, but play him as a sub. And if he plays 1 quarter, that's the best of both worlds. But Def Boy, I'm going to throw straight to you for your ins and outs, Def Boy. So make sure to touch on your those 2 players, but also go straight into your ins and outs and the sub, which is such an important conversation this week.
Yeah, it's obviously it's a positive with these ins, as you touched on with Jack and Gov. So I'll just start with my outs for this game. I've got Lewis Young, Corey Durden, and Orazio Fantasia. I don't think there's too much to look into those guys. I don't think Durden's actually been too bad. I think his forward pressure's been good. I just think it's the lack of impact for the ball for mine, and he's, I don't know, it's just something that's just not, it's just not, I'm not thinking he's doing enough. I don't know, I'm not pinpointing play because I think as a team we're not doing enough, but I think if the way our forward structures work to when we're playing well, especially back half the year, he didn't play many games. And I'm sorry to say that, but he didn't play many games. So those are my 3 outs. So my ins, got McGovern, Kennedy's coming in as he was the sub on the weekend. That was a dumb decision. I don't know why he was not playing. He's been playing well. That type of game is perfect for him. And also I've got Jack Martin in. I think he has to play, and I think he has to be in the 22. I think he's an early goal kicker usually against them. So he starts the games off well, and it just takes a little bit of pressure off, Charlie, and he's got to have a big one this week, Charlie, if we're talking about him. I think Martin will take the pressure off, but I think it also opens lanes for Charlie. Hopefully opens lanes for Charlie. And my sub, who I think he's done a really, really good job as a sub this year, and I think he's not really worthy of playing twos. I think he's been good enough to be in the ones, and I think it's Jack Carroll. I think he'll be the sub. He can fill that kind of midfield role, and there's a lot of mids in there playing because of Kennedy in there now as well. So I think he can roll in and replace, I don't know, whoever, and unless we need another mid, because their midfield's good, and they're probably running a little bit hot from the weekend. So with Max gone in great form, so that'll be Jack Carroll's a sub, Patto.
You just mentioned there about Max Gordon. I'm like, oh shit, yeah.
Hito's
at the G.
Often up to it against him, so I think that's going to be a big challenge.
And yeah, I think obviously the 2 rucks this week is an absolute lock. Well, hopefully if they both have avoid any injuries this week, I think both are an absolute lock to play this week against Gorn, and of course Van Rooyen, who is another player we might touch on later on in the opposition watch. But yes, my ins and outs. I love Jack Carroll. Now I'm going with another sub option, who of course I'm bringing in. So now I've got 4 ins and 4 outs.
Yep.
And it's very similar, but there's one player that I'm just about at the point now where he's had a few games back this season, and I think he needs to start to have a bit of a reset in the VFL. So outs, Lewis Young, Orazio Fantasia, Corey Durden, I'll keep my out for now. Ins, Mitch McGovern, Matt Candy, Jack Martin, Brody Kemp in.
Yep.
Now, for the viewers, obviously you would probably assume that my other out would be a defender, and one of the defenders is Zach Williams.
Ooh, yeah.
He is out this week for the D's clash. I would expect him to play, of course. Like, if he does play, I wouldn't be frustrated or angry about it. But I think this week, you always have to make a statement in terms of last week. The Cats game, there was a lot of conversation about his defensive work.
Yeah.
One, he was subbed. Two, he was subbed with a hamstring tightness. So that's another worry also. So I don't know if it was I don't know if it was
one on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a groin. I think it was a groin.
I've heard hamstring.
I think he's fine. To be honest, I think the way the game was going, I think he actually wanted to come off. It was just like, it was a bit of a mix. I know I'm not trying to say anything, but I just feel like there's something with him that loiters over him. You know what I mean? Like there's just this panic or something. But anyway, you continue.
Yeah, but that's my question though. Like, do we risk him this week?
I don't know. I think the one thing that keeps him in for me, I think he can definitely get dropped. As you said, I think he's definitely, if he gets dropped, I'm not against that at all. But I think I don't know where we're getting our dash from back half. I know we got Boyd. But he's got that something, doesn't he? I don't know. I think he can get dropped, but I don't think anyone in our back half has got the pace and speed he's got without starting the team. Like, are we expecting Cowan to create off half back? Are we expecting, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And I think I want the ball in Jordan Boyd's hands more times from the kick-outs as well. So,
because I think Newey played a really good game, but he doesn't have the speed, obviously. But that's why I think you really utilise Jordan Boyd. And if he starts to get a bit of attention, Lockie Cowan, seriously, like you mentioned there about Lockie Cowan, I think he would be almost up to the task of taking that Zach Williams role, essentially. And then, Chin Cotter as well. Chin Cotter will obviously take one of those small forwards and have more of that lockdown role. But I don't know. I just think Jordan Boyd comes to my mind where I just think it's his time where he's earned the right to have that senior spot. He's played very well this season, and I just think he kind of not reward him because he's not playing for this role, but he's kind of reward in the sense of Zach Williams is an awesome player, and he comes out of the side. You bring in Brody Kemp as well. So the only reason why I'm making this whole change is because Mitch McGovern is a vital in. He comes in to take Lewis Young, that young role, but obviously be that more of an intercept defender. But then Brody Kemp can be there as well. And I just think Mitch McGovern has the speed as well.
Yeah, so he had the ball use. Yeah, so I think we can a bit.
Yeah, so I think a Gov can take the kick out. I think Gov is pretty much the Williams replacement in a sense.
Yeah,
because Gov takes his kick outs. Gov can take Gov can cover the ball use moving forward, and Brody Kemp can take the lockdown role as we might expect Mitch McGovern to take this week. But I think Brody Kemp takes it this week. I think he's good enough, and I think a Wiedering would go say to straight to a Van Rooyen. But then other than that, there's not a lot of key forwards down there. There really isn't. There's Harrison Petty that maybe Wieders might go to as well. Yeah. Other than that, the next one's Bailey Fritsch. So obviously that's a whole conversation that we'll talk about in opposition watch. But I don't know. After all of that, David Boy, what's your thoughts on the whole defensive system right now with those ins and outs?
Yeah, I thought they were good on the weekend. I think they were good on the weekend, the amount of inside 50s Collingwood had. My frustration was just the movement from back half. I think their defence was okay. I think these guys are just got to take on the kicks. Start taking on kicks, because I feel like McGovern's going to be a massive asset for that because he takes those inboard kicks all the time. 45-degree, all the time, punches at 15 metres, 20 metres. I want to see it all the time.
Yeah.
Don't be holding back chippy shit. I want to take on the game, be unpredictable. but starting to become that predictable going forward of the ball. So against Melbourne, who system-wise, defensively, they've been one of the best in the league for the last 4 or 5 years. And you've got Lever and May. Do not let them cover the ball. Do not let them just jump at the ball. You know what I mean? Get those darts. I think that's how we beat them the last 2 times. We had a lot of opportunities where we're hitting Jack Martin on the tip. We're hitting, Charlie on the chest, and Harry will just do his thing. We know that. So, yeah, I agree with that actually. With Williams, I think he needs a week off.
And
I don't know.
it's just a management game where because
I
I
think
reckon
he's not good enough.
yeah.
I don't give a fuck if he's playing getting 900K a week. Or what a week. 900K a year. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care.
900K a week.
Has he proven enough? No.
No.
Has he proven enough at Carlton? No.
No.
Let's be real. Let's be real. And you touched on it perfectly in the last episode about overrating these players. Just because he's on a high pay packet and he's supposed to be a superstar doesn't mean he will be. So Adam Sarr's a superstar, proven superstar. Zach Williams is not. That's all I'm going to say.
It's really well said. Like, we need to be realistic. Like, we're trying to be as realistic in these episodes where we don't want to look like we're massive Carlton supporters and always hyping these players up and always be the yes men and saying, yes, this guy's going to be all Australian, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're trying to be realistic as possible when we come into these episodes. And right now, Zach Williams isn't good enough. And you don't want to single out these players, but
of course,
he just came out of off an ACL injury last year. So that's a massive injury to overcome. And he's done so well to get himself back this year, but also play 8 games in a row. Like, he's played, he's done extremely well. And I just think same thing with Fantasia. Just get himself back in the VFL, try and learn your craft again. And then when Sard maybe comes in, I would be confident to maybe bring in Williams as well. And imagine Sard, Williams, and Boyd, all of that half back. Like, that excites me. But also, if Boyd has a few off games, you've got Williams in the VFL. So, like I don't know if they're going to go with their 2 or 3 half back.
Almost, yeah.
But I think it works to a stretch. Because the only reason why we had Boyd, Williams, and Sard playing is because Gov wasn't playing. Sorry. Williams, Boyd, and Cowan is because Gov wasn't playing. It would just be interesting to see. Like, I think, my whole opinion is that the whole reason of these ins and outs is because of Gov. It really is. Like, he's an absolute lock to come in, and then you just try and think about how to shape that defensive system. And you don't want to change it too much, because then you lose chemistry. And but my sub also is Jackson Binns. He will be the sub this week, hopefully. Off my ins and outs, hopefully he will be the sub. And I think it's a great opportunity. I hate playing young kids as sub, I really do. Especially in his second game. But if he comes in as sub, maybe you bring him on at halftime, because if you play Jack Martin and he's not right, you bring Binns on. But I want to try and give Binns the opportunity to play a little bit more football. And I don't think he'll once again be sub this week, play half a quarter, and then be dropped next week. I want him to play sub this week, so eventually you transition him into the senior side. Because I think we're lacking the 3 wingers. So I agree. I think moving forward, maybe Binns might be the player, but also, like, Hollins is playing VFL. So Ollie Hollins is a player that's playing VFL. So and you think about it, and
he didn't play on the weekend. He got managed.
The VFL?
Yep, Hollins.
Oh.
Yeah, he didn't play. I actually reckon he's almost been dropped to manage him a little bit. But, he didn't play on the weekend. Yeah, he was managed from the game. So I've just got a little bit of a thinking that just then it popped in my head that he could actually come in too. I don't know. That's interesting, isn't it?
So he was managed for the VFL game.
Yeah, he didn't play. Yeah, he did not play. No injury.
That's interesting. That's very interesting,
isn't it? Yeah, it might be a bit of a just have a week off. I don't know if it, you know what I mean. Like, that's what I needed from him. So I think he's definitely easily best 22. When he's going. So the young fella, sometimes you might need to just go have a week off. But he's played a lot of footy in a row.
He has, yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? And it's, they always say the second year blues, like when the second year of their career, they not struggle, but I don't know, it's weird. They just can't find things. But yeah, just sorry to butt in, but I remember it popped in my head. I was like, he didn't play. So that's an interesting watch too for the ins and outs as well. So he could come in maybe. I don't know.
Mm. Or maybe you play him as sub.
Yeah, you could.
All right, I'm going to change the sub this week. Laid out. Laid out, ins and outs. Sub this week, locked in. Ollie Hollands will be the sub this week off my ins and outs.
Poor busy.
Yeah, sorry, busy. But back to the BFL, mate, and get your other 35 touches and 2 goals. But my word, like if we were doing a VFL preview and review as well, which I think in the next few years I would actually try and touch on the VFL a little bit more transition. But Jackson Binns has been killing it in the VFL, and like you want to smash the door down. I don't think there's any door left for Jackson Binns because I think he's at the point now where he just keeps on doing the same thing, and I just hope that eventually, translate into some senior footy, and I'm sure it will. So, shout out to Jackson Binns, but yeah, those are our ins and outs and the sub. We're now going to move on to the opposition watch, Daffy Boy. Now, for the viewers who don't know what this is, we pretty much touch on the backline, midfield, and forward for the Melbourne Demons this week. Obviously the opposition watch, and we touch on one player for each line and kind of explain why they're a threat. So we both don't know what we're going to say. The players that we have down here, we don't know what they are. So we're going into this segment completely unknown. So, Daffy Boy, your backline opposition watch for the Melbourne Football Club. Who have you got?
Yeah, well, as I said, I think they're a good back unit. Even though they haven't been, as a team really clicking all these weeks, I think on the weekend they really clicked. They kept Geelong to 66 over 4 quarters. They probably should have won by a bit more forward of the ball. I think it was on the defense. I think they did their job completely, and I think they worked out Geelong in a way, which will be interesting to see on Geelong's half because everyone says they're invincible, but when they lose, shit happens. So, my watch is Stephen May. I think he's been phenomenal. I think he's absolute lock for All Australian the way he's been playing. He's been probably in their top 3 every single week. Even in losses, sometimes he's he had 25 on the weekend, 22 like something, 24 kicks or something. So, and everyone goes, "Oh, it's uncontested," but he's not missing many kicks. Bullets them. So that's a big thing for our kick-out defence. That's why I think we've got to watch him defensively, but also when he's working forward, because he can hurt you off kick-out. He can nail passes and kind of skim through your team defence through his penetrating kicks. So, he's a watcher because he's going to take Charlie for sure. He's matched up incredibly well against him over the last few years. So it's going to be a big challenge for him. But, their back six is good. And also his partner in crime in Jake Lever. So my one is Stephen May. If we can keep his, don't give him the ball. Don't let him get the ball. I know he takes a kick out, so it's going to happen. But in the other aspects of the game, do not let him intercept too much. Get the ball to ground because that's when they get a little bit, little bit, scary time sometimes for the Ds in defence when the ball's hitting the deck. And I watch them a little bit too much, the Ds, but when the ball's hitting the deck, it's just sometimes it's a bit, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, can they defend that well enough?
I just had a very pardon me. The throat is giving up on me, Daffy Boy. So I just had a very quick look at the stats last week. Now, Stephen May and Jake Lever. Mm-hmm. Stephen May, 25 touches. Jake Lever, 24 touches.
Yes. They're very good.
So May had 13 marks. Jake Lever had 8 marks. That's unbelievable. As 2 key defenders.
They're probably the best duo, you reckon?
Yeah. 100%. Maybe Lewis Young and Jacob Weitering.
Or maybe Don McHugh and Sam Durden in the VFL.
Shout out to Don McHugh. You are our absolute favourite player from the Baggers Chat. Hopefully he can get a game sometime this year and represent the Baggers Chat channel. But yeah, I had a look at that. That is unbelievable. Like Stephen May, 25 touches. That's kind of I think he always gets his 15 touches, but 25 touches, that's exceeded another level. And he was out and he was at he was Melbourne's second highest disposal getter. Yeah, that's unbelievable. Because Clayton Oliver, 31 touches, where that's another conversation come to midfield where he looks very, very good. So yeah, so my backline opposition watch, I've gone the other partner in crime, and that's Jake Lever. I think he's a player that when you have McDonald down there, you have May down there, it really opens up Jake Lever. And when you have Lever on his own, like when he doesn't have other players around him, I think he's a bit vulnerable. But when he is there with those two other players with McDonald and May, it really does open up Jake Lever. And I think he's going to be that intercept defender. But it's funny because you've got Jake Lever down there, but on the other side, we've got Mitch McGovern down back. So I think our backline is shaped pretty much identical, like the same sort of
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like it's not like the exact same because I think like you pretty much have May and Lever as throat is absolutely terrible today, that boy. May and McDonald down there as the key defenders, but we don't have that. We have Weeders, and that's probably the only key defender. Like you have Brody Kemp, who's like a bit of a mobility sort of player. But yeah, I think Jake Lever scares me a little bit, especially since you would expect McDonald to take Mackay, then May to take Curnow, Lever, but also that opens up an opportunity for maybe TDK.
Yes.
Like,
and he killed him last time.
Yep, he did.
He did. Yeah, that's a great point, actually. Because I was thinking, I always forget TDK is playing forward. So I was just thinking, Lever goes to Martin. I was just like, oh yeah, righto. But yeah, that'll be interesting, especially because Howes for them also plays tall.
Yes.
So he's been really, really good this year. So he'd probably go to Martin and then leave it to TDK, or does Tom McDonald go to TDK? I don't know. So then if they continue to play Turner forward, or does he go back? You know what I mean? So because he's a defender, let's be real. And the old man said he's not going to be out forward for long. So they might have to shift the magnets. Who knows? But in terms of the matchups are going to be. We say they set up really well, but for us, I don't think they do. But
that's the thing about having TDK down there. But also if it's a wet, I mean, I haven't checked the forecast, but if it's wet on Thursday, back. Let's just hope it's not. But you mentioned there about the whole, like, it's a really good point about the three defenders down there, and they match up pretty much against every other team fantastically. But this week, not so much. No. And TDK, because even last week, so the first matchup when, like, against the Pies first quarter, it was Moore v Curnow, which was expected. But then Frampton went to TDK.
Yeah, early,
And then Howe went to Mackay. And I'm like, my God, if that's the matchup. But, I mean, I think, like, they changed it up a lot. I don't know why, but I was looking at that a lot, like a little bit too much, I reckon. But I was a bit like, I was looking at that a lot, especially last week. And I'm like, okay, well, that keeps, because I reckon Moore was on TDK at one stage for a long time.
Yeah, and Frampton too on Mackay. I think they switched that quick. I reckon they switched that real quick, but and that didn't even work either. So how the fuck did we lose last week? Can we get back to that? What are we doing? But yeah, continue.
I don't even want to go back to the bloody Pies, seriously. Not even gonna mention a Death Boy. So let's now move on to the opposition watch midfield line. Death Boy. Now there's a lot of players in there, and there's a certain player that comes to my mind, and I've got him as my opposition watch. But Death Boy, who have you got as your midfield opposition watch for the D's?
Yeah, they've got a lot of guys who run through there. I'm not going to go with their main guys. I think we know what they kind of bring in. I think, in these videos, if I've watched a little bit more of this certain team, I see certain players and maybe Carlton supporters who are watching right now, maybe not. They might just be focusing on, Oliver's, Petrarca's and stuff. But I think the one for us, and it's going to be a big task, and it's Caleb Windsor on the wing. I think he was probably their top 3-4 players on the weekend. I know he had, 19 touches or 20 touches, but Jesus, man, pick seven, and he's in a really, really good team, and he's keeping players out of the team. Like Lockie Hunter's not going to get a game for Melbourne.
Yeah.
He will not get a game for Melbourne. Well, this guy will be in the team the whole year, no doubt in my mind. He's not going to be one of those, I'll give him a week. Well, he might, I don't know, but he's built for it. He just looks ready, and he was really, really. His pace is unbelievable. That's going to be a challenge for us because he's like speedy. Like he got that goal in the last quarter. He chased down Tom Atkins, and it was like 1, 2, 3, bang! Like his speed from 0 to 100, like real quick. That's where he, that's how he's so good. So for Blake Acres and Cotters and stuff like that, we've got to keep tabs on guys like that. Going to be hard to keep up with those guys. If you're pushing too far up, he gets out the back or use his speed to get past you. That could hurt us in the back half. So Caleb Windsor is mine, but also you got some other names in there that I'm sure you can touch on.
Yeah. Well, I've gone very, very traditional this way. I usually go a little bit, I guess,
Yeah.
out of the box, but this week I'm going very traditional, and I think last week is all I needed to see to lock in my opposition watch this week, and it's Clayton Oliver, man.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit I'm cautious about it.
Yeah.
Because of course you've got Petrarca in there, you've got even like a Tom Sparrow as well, who is a very solid midfielder. You've got like even Judd McVee, who, if he eventually transitions into the midfield in a few years' time, he's a fantastic player off the halfback, but he's also a player that is threatening also in the back line, but also might transition up. Now, is Christian Salem back yet?
Nah, he's away. He's 5 more weeks or something. Yeah, but another few midfielders they push in there as well. You go with Pickett and Trent Rivers too.
Rivers.
Mm.
He's been very, very solid as well. And I think having Salem move up in the midfield as well has helped him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like even Jack Viney, man, as well.
Yeah.
But,
Max
I'll go
Gawn.
with Clayton Oliver this week. And yeah, I think he always gets his 25. Like this year he's been a little bit off. I mean, which is like this first few games this year, he was still getting his 25 touches, but he just wasn't he wasn't impacting the game as much as he potentially could have. But yeah, like last week, with what I heard, I mean, I obviously didn't watch the game because I was working on the Eagles game at the same time. I don't like how they do that, like how they have actually a bit very off topic. I thought I would ask you because it's touching me in a conversation in the AFL world. What's your thoughts on having a Sunday night game 7:10 every week? Sunday night.
It'll never happen again. It was because of the public holiday in Brizzy today.
The reason, like what I've been hearing is moving forward, they want to do Thursday night and Friday night games every single week, which I think is an absolute lock. But they want to try and avoid having the double header on a Saturday night.
Okay. Sunday night.
I know, right? Like last night when I was working on it, I'm like 7:10, like that's pretty late. So
and some of these Sunday games have been absolutely awful. What are they doing with the scheduling?
yeah, I don't know.
You put the shit game on if you've got 2 games on a Saturday night, put the 2 games and one of them shit. I want to if it's 3:20, I'm having a relax, on a Sunday out on my couch. I don't want to watch fucking Hawthorn Dogs. Like that was a good game yesterday, which was surprising.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you look at the next few weeks, I'm not going to go into it, but the Sunday, and I agree with the 7:10. It's interesting, but it's just more about if you're going to get a crowd through the door because I know people talk about a Friday night, let alone a Sunday night.
Yeah. But yeah, so like usually they might go a little bit late because of the Fremantle, like with the
but like that's fair enough.
Yeah, like obviously with the whole because a lot of people have been saying that it's because of the public holiday, which I completely agree with. But it's like, oh, that's a little bit of a funny one. Like maybe moving forward that might be the plan, but I mean we will find out when the fixtures come out, which I think is over the next few weeks, for the rest of the season. But yeah, so Daffy Boy, let's now move back on to the opposition watch forward line. There's a lot of forwards down there, and there's a few scary prospects potentially for the D's this week. Who have you got as your forward line opposition watch?
Yeah, there's a few guys who played really well on the weekend for them, and stepped up. I know they scored 74, but there was so many chances they should have kicked. It was just ridiculous at one point. I think they were 5 goals 14 at one point. Then and then both teams started to kick straight. Yeah, they were 5 goals 14, and they kicked 5 straight, Melbourne. So they cleaned that up near the end when they needed to. But for me, this guy, I'll bring out a stat because there's a stat brought by the old man. He said the other day, because he loves him, obviously. This guy is in the top 5 goal kickers since 2020. Since 2020, he's in the top 5 in the league in goals. Bailey Fritsch.
Yeah, knew it.
Bailey Fritsch is, you look at him and you go, how is he in the top 5 of the Coleman? Right? And people go, no way they can win games with him as their goal kicker. But I think they can. He is, it's the weirdest player because he's like, what is he, 180 or something, 187, or like, he's not short, but he's like that 6'1". He's very light, but he's dangerous if you give him the opportunity. And he kicks goals. That's what he kicks straight. That's what helps him too. Like he doesn't need 58 touches or 7 shots a goal to change a game. He needs 3 shots a goal to change a game because it'll be 3 straight. And on the weekend he was great. And the one off the dribble off the boundary, which ultimately won him the game, that was massive as well. But people go, oh, out of his ass. But he said he seems to pull out those moments a lot.
All the time.
And he kicked that ripper against us in the semi where he turned around from 50 on the run and kicked that, and there was goal for goal at that point, the back end of the third quarter. So I think he's a watch for us and the matchup we have for him. And if it's your case, it could be, Kemp might go to him. It could be Chincotta. I don't know. Newman could go to him. I don't even know. There's a lot of guys who could go on him. And I think we can't just stick to one guy on him the whole game. I think, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be, I don't know, because they've got other guys in there. Cozzy, they've got Petty's in good form, unfortunately. They've got, Chandler, who played all right on the weekend. Like, there's a few guys rolling through there. And, Max Gawn tends to go forward of the ball a fair bit too. Kicks his goals too. So it's going to be a watch, Patto. But, yeah, for me, it's Bailey Fritsch, because when I heard that stat, that is unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
Well, like, you kind of think about it, and I think you've always, like, he's really improved, like, this year especially, and the past few years when he's kind of transitioned forward, like, because he was a defender when he first got drafted. So, and he's always had that football IQ, and he's always had the delightful kick of just classy ball use. And, like, I mean, I've got to say it. He's just got a simple routine. He doesn't overcomplicate it, and you kind of watch him have a set shot of goal, because I want to try and watch as many D's games as possible as well. And every single time he has a set shot, you're surprised if he misses it. It's at that time where you're actually surprised if he misses it, because he lines up a goal, and he's just, every single thing in his routine is just smooth, and that's what you need as a key forward, and that's what you need as a forward in general when you're having a shot at goal. And that's what Harry Mackay's done this year as well. Like, he's just worked on the consistency of the routine. And Bailey Fritsch, I'm sure his routine might be to flick his fucking, I don't know what it is. Like it's a little bit scary how his hair just kind of stays there.
It's a good effort.
Hey?
It's a good effort to keep his hair like that. You got to respect that.
It's just like, it just stays there like the whole game, and it's unbelievable, Daffy boy. Maybe moving forward, mate, I might even try and go with that hairstyle, mate. But my forward opposition watch now, I looked at their half forward and forward line this week, last week for the D's against the Cats. Now, Neil Bourne, Fritsch, Chandler, Pickett, Van Rooyen, Hetty, and then you also look at the bench, like even like a Jack Billings can play that half forward role as well.
Yep.
Now, there's one name that my eyes draw straight to, and it's Cozzy Pickett. You kind of, I think every single time we play against the D's, I always have Cozzy Pickett, and it's just because he scares me as a small forward. He really does, and I really rate this guy. I think he's got the grunt in him where, yes, he does get some suspensions and reports, and like I'm sure the D's won't be too happy with that, but you kind of want that as well, because you do it from the other side of it where it's like he's a tough nut, and sometimes it does cost him, but also it's threatening for an opposition when you've got Cozzy Pickett like flying at the footy, but also he goes through the midfield. So if he gets a lot of the ball, he's a good
Yes.
ball user. If he gets a lot of the ball up the ground early, that means he can be very confident come toward like halftime, heading into the third quarter, fourth quarter. He can be the fire starter for the D's. And I just think the forward line, it's very much evolved around Van
Yep.
Rooyen when he kind of transitions out of the forward line, and then you've got Buddy Max Gawn coming back in. But if you've got Gawn down there and Crumb in there as Pickett, Chandler, all these guys, and a player that in a few weeks, as you mentioned at the start of the episode, oh wait, I think it was just before we press record. Also McAdam, like when he comes back into the side, he's another player that's going to be instrumental to his lineup for the D's. But yeah, so that's my forward opposition watch for the D's. Now, Daft Boy, let's now move on to the highly anticipated match predictions. Now, it's going to be interesting because there's a bit of doubt now lingering over the Carlton Football Club and maybe over our minds, Daft Boy. But I mean, I'll be pretty confident that we both did the baggers just just quietly. But your bagger of the game now, like obviously for the viewers out there, this is like the match predictions. We touch on a bagger of the game, which is the best player. For our opinion, we kind of see the bagger of the game as the most impactful player on the ground. So it doesn't need to be most touches or whatnot. It's just the most impactful player. Point of difference as well, which is a player that obviously is a point of difference come Thursday night, and winner plus margin also for the match predictions. So Daffy Boy, your match predictions.
Yeah, it's going to be, you are right about the doubt. Of course there's doubt. There's always going to be doubt lingering when your team loses 2 in a row, and the way we played on the weekend as well. Bagger of the game. Bagger of the game. I picked the captain the last few weeks, and he was off on the weekend. He was off, but I'm going to pick Harry Mackay. I think he causes issues for them, and I think the way he kicks the ball now is going to make him pay for the touches he gets deep inside 50. Because I think we haven't played Melbourne where Harry's been like the way he's been playing now. So I think Harry's going to be the best on ground, to be honest with you. I think he's a mismatch for anybody in that team. I think they'll put McDonald to him early for sure. But they have to put him to Harry. So bag of the game, Harry Mackay, point of difference. There's 2 guys coming in. I'm picking one of them. It's going to be Mitch McGovern. We need the point of difference in defence for our ball movement, and I think he's going to provide that for us. I could have picked the other guy as well, but I'm picking McGovern because I just think he'll change the game in a more impactful way. I don't know, just because the way we've been playing is because of the outs we've had in terms of Sard and McGovern and their ball movement. So winner plus margin. Well, before I got into this call, I wasn't going to tip us. I think easily, not crediting Melbourne. And I know the old man's probably watching this episode, but I'm crediting Melbourne, but I think we always are up to the challenge against them, and they're always up to the challenge as well. So I said the last few weeks is a little bit of a joke that it's going to be a close game, and it's always like 50-something to 50-something, low scoring. Both midfields are going at it. There's really no open space. The moments are massive. I think we're going to beat Melbourne by a point at the MCG. I think it's going to be around the 60-something to 60-something. I think both we like kind of play very alike in a way that we've got the 2, like I guess now that helps with Van Rooyen and Petty playing well, so they've got the bookends, as you say. We've got Wiedering and Charlie and Harry. The midfields are both very contested, clearance-based teams. It's going to be a good battle, I think. I know there's a lot of doubt, but I think it's going to be a ripper game, and I think we're going to come out by a point and we're going to beat them close again. I just got a feeling we're going to beat them close again, but we've got to be better. For that to happen, we've got to be better than last week, and if we're not, they're going to punish us.
Another 1-point game. My God. I don't think I could deal with it, Daffy Boy. I don't think I could deal with another close game, and especially against this club.
Yep.
So now my bagger of the game. Now I've just had a slight look back at the past few games against the D's, and there's always been this player who's been up and about, always performs against the D's, and he's a player that not everyone thinks about in this midfield. You're probably thinking about it right now. Maybe Chera might be, maybe a Walsh, maybe a Cripper.
I know who you're talking about.
As soon as he's probably going one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
Georgie, fucking you, mate. He is playing underrated football. He really is. And once again, like last week, he got 30 touches again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like yes, he had a few
Mm.
easy touches on the weekend. He didn't impact the game as much as he probably would usually with 30
Yeah.
touches. Now, there's just always something about Georgie Hewitt, home game against the D's in those bright blue and red jerseys. And there's just something about George Hewitt coming up against the D's. Now, highly contested game. You expect it to be very highly contested game, and I just think George Hewitt, it suits him perfectly, and I just think he's due for a big game. I'm maybe guessing 1 or 2 goals for Georgie Hewitt and 32 touches for Georgie Hewitt. I was going to go 34, but I'm like, no, I'll go 32. And also, it might help him also with having Chera in there as well. It kind of opens an avenue for George Hewitt. Now, another conversation also is maybe with Matt Keaney, if he gets upgraded from the sub to the senior to the 22 list. I don't know what happens with George Hewitt. I'm not too sure. So it's a bit of a risky one, but I trust Georgie Hewitt to perform once again against the D's. Now, my point of difference, usually try and go with an in, like a player that we brought in from the side to the side. I'm going with David Cunningham, mate. There's something about Cunners that I love it. I love and him as a half forward transitioning into the midfield. I absolutely love it. And David Cunningham is going to be my point of difference. Now, winner plus margin. This is when it does get a little bit dark. I have lost trust in the club.
Yes, same.
I will not regain this trust until we do get a win. But I have gone the Blues this week by 15 points. Now, again, it's still going to be a very close game. I just have a feeling it's going to be wet. I don't know why.
It's always wet against.
It's always wet. I hate it. It's always highly contested, low scoring, footy, but it's just always highly contested and it's low scoring and it's bloody wet all the time. But yeah, so Carlton by 15 points, and there's something about this week where I think either team will get a bit of a run on. So it's either going to be D's by 15 or 20 or Carlton by 15 or 20. And it's not going to be a blowout, but I hope it's not another bloody close game because seriously, Dr. Boy, I don't think I can handle it once again, or else I won't be here for the review episode. But yeah, so Carlton by 15 points for me. That's just a bit of a routine win. But also, if we don't get the job done this week, I won't be tipping Carlton next week.
Yep.
That's what I'll be saying straight away. And it doesn't matter if we lose by a point. I won't be tipping the Blues next week until they well and truly get until they earn our trust back. That's the whole thing. So we're not it's nowhere near panic stages yet. It's nowhere near warning signs. It's just there's been a few off games this week. You have another opportunity. Thursday night blockbuster game, prime time footy against the D's, top 4 side, MCG, under the lights. Hopefully a big crowd as well.
Yeah, it will be.
Get the job done. So, Daffy Boy, before we wrap up the episode, is there anything else you would like to touch on and for the preview against the D's?
I think this is massive for our season.
Yep. Detrimental.
I know it's round 9 and we say it's early, but I think if we snatch a win against a team that's challenging for the premiership now, and then we head into Sydney with a bit of we'll be 6-3 heading into Sydney. I think I'll take that, and we can give Sydney a crack if we win that or not. I don't know, but then you go on the Gold Coast, and then you go into these games where should be winning these games. So big game. Obviously, I'll be attending with the man himself. The Pattinson, I'd imagine we'll be doing a vlog. I think for this game, I think we're going to put something together. So one of the big time vlogs. So hopefully, at least there's 2 of us there. So at least one of us will be recording throughout the game. There'll be good reactions, I reckon. I think we'll make sure we are recording if it's a close one late in the game. I think we'll just keep the record on and just fucking let it roll, I reckon. But probably make sure we watch out for the colourful language at some times of the game. But no, Demons always provide a challenge for us, and it's always tight, like you said. I think it's the perfect point of the bagger of the game. Sorry, I can't speak English at the moment. George Stewart, I knew you were going to say that because he plays really well against them every single time. So I think he's built for those contested games. If it's a contested game, who knows? The way Carlton's playing these days, I can't really trust what the hell's going to go on. So just get the win, boys. And hopefully a few celebratory beers.
No, well said. I don't know what it is about today. It's always a Monday morning for me where I just can't. I feel like my brain to the mouth just doesn't function. Sometimes it just doesn't function, and I think it's kind of gone on to you now. For the end of the. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? It just doesn't translate. But of course for the end of the episode now. Yeah, so the next few games, so it's obviously the D's this week. Then it's the Swans at the FCG. Then it's the Suns at the MCG, which is good. Port at Port now. Port is another conversation where you don't really know where they are because last week they got absolutely slaughtered against the Crows where realistically you don't know if they're a great side either. So that's another thing also with the competition where it's a lot more even. So you don't actually know who's good and who's bad until you get to like round 15, which is great. I think we'll be loving this right now. So, and then of course before the bye, it's yes and Bombers, which is another conversation. But Daf boy, absolute ripper of an episode. I think it was. I don't know if it was a little bit longer or not, but yeah, I think it's always a little bit shorter for the preview compared to the reviews because obviously the reviews we have a lot more to touch on for the games. But yes, so to every single supporter out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channels. We upload a preview and review for every single game of the season. And also come the end of the year, we also try and touch on some off-season stuff as well. So make sure to tune in. There's a lot of content coming through for your eyes on the screens. But then also to every single blue bagger out there, make sure to like and subscribe as well to all these social platforms as well. So obviously there's the podcast platforms that we have, YouTube, Spotify, all that, Apple Music, but also make sure to get around our Instagram, TikTok, and all those social platforms. But to you, Daffy boy, I'll see you Thursday night for the D's. And to every single blue bagger out there, up the baggers!
Come on.